Hey guys, Retired at 40. It's been a minute since I've done a freeze-dried video, so today we're doing a freeze-dried video for all the people that are on just a plant-based diet. So about a year ago today, I was into the doctor and he told me that I had high blood pressure, and I already knew that I had high cholesterol that was genetic in my family. And I asked a few people what I could do. I asked the doctor what I could do, and he told me to cut down on dairy and cut down on meat. So I didn't completely cut it out, but I did cut it down quite a bit. And since then I've lost about 10 pounds. My blood pressure has gone down dramatically. My cholesterol has gone down dramatically. And I have a lot more energy, and I feel like I feel a lot better. So not only have I changed my diet, but I've changed a lot of the things that I cook because I'm starting to cook more plant-based foods. So that brings me to what we are freeze drying today. So one of the biggest complaints I have since cutting down on my meat intake is that it's really hard to replace a meat with something that doesn't taste like something that's supposed to be replacing meat. So I found a pretty good solution. It's called Seitan. And it's kind of a dough-based substance that you infuse with different types of broth. You can do chicken, you can do vegetable, you can do beef, you can do pork stock. But the consistency of what it is very similar to meat, and I think a lot of people would never even be able to tell. I'm just going to load up a tray with chunks, and then I'm going to do the bigger size too. And this stuff is porous enough that I think it will be fine without having to cut it or make it any smaller than it is. So this is sort of bread-like, and usually bread does not do well in the freeze dryer, but just because of the way this is, I think it's actually going to reconstitute really well. Its shelf life in a refrigerator is not very long, maybe a couple weeks at best. So it'd be great to be able to just make a gigantic batch of this and just kind of use it as you need it. You can also see that I'm putting these pretty close together because I think once the moisture is back out of these, I think that they will probably shrink back down again. So you might be asking, what's next? Well, no vegetarian or vegan or plant-based diet would be complete without some tofu. And say what you will, but tofu works in a lot of different situations and it's real inexpensive. But I will say, as I started making the seitan, I don't use tofu anymore. To me, it's got a lot more flavor and it works a lot better in many situations. But it does have the same problem as tofu does, where it doesn't store very long. So freeze drying is going to be really helpful for tofu. So I'm just going to dice it up into cubes because that's usually how you use it anyway. And tofu has almost the same consistency of the seitan. Okay, I'm going to stick these in the deep freeze, and then we're actually going to freeze some almond milk too, so I'll bring almond milk out and fill my tray outside. So the next thing we're going to do is make some cashew milk. You can also use almond milk, which I have a video on. I'll put a link down below and show you how to make that. It's real simple. I'll give you the quick version here. Pretty much 2 cups of cashews. I've boiled these, or you can let them soak overnight. But you add the cashews to a high power blender, and then 4 cups of water. And then you just blend it smooth. So we tend to make the cashew milk more than the almond milk because this is all there is to it. You don't have to strain it. There's nothing else ready. You can just put this in the fridge and use it. Alright, I've got 1 empty tray left, and that reminds me of something that I keep forgetting to do in the videos, and that's to weigh the trays. A harvestright stainless steel brand tray weighs 1 pound 10 ounces, so just use that for your benchmark in the future. Alright, I had 1 more tray left, so I filled it up with butter cauliflower, which was my recipe for earlier in the week. And I'm going to go ahead and add this to the deep freeze as well, so we got all 4 trays ready to go. I'm going to start my pre-freeze cycle on the freeze dryer, and then we're going to go check on our frozen food. Alright, everything looks good. Tofu is kind of interesting. It turned like a brown color. but everything else is frozen solid. I'm gonna take a second and I'm gonna weigh this now that it's frozen before we put it into the freeze dryer. Okay, so first I'm gonna do the tofu. And remember, our trays weighed 1 pound, 10 ounces. So with the tofu on there and frozen, it's 3 pounds, 9.5 ounces. And the seitan is 3 pounds, 10 ounces. So it added about 2 pounds. The cashew milk is 4 pounds, 4 ounces. And the butter cauliflower is 3 pounds, 12 ounces. So if you get in the habit of weighing things before and after you freeze dry, then you'll know the exact equivalent of water that you need to put back into the food to get it to the point that it was. And now we're all done. I'll see you guys in a while. Alright, so we're all done. It took about 36 hours for our process. Seitan, tofu, or cashew milk, and our buttered cauliflower. Alright, so let's weigh these after the cycle and get our first look at what this stuff looks like. There's the tofu. It's very light and airy now, and now it's only weighing 1 pound, 15 ounces. It basically only weighs 5 ounces more than the tray does. Alright, next is the seitan. 2 pounds and 5 ounces, about 4.5, 5 ounces. And these look very similar to a crouton for a salad, and they're very light, very porous. Now you can see all the pores. Alright, the almond milk, or the cashew milk I should say, shrunk up quite a bit. You can see around all the edges, you can see where it actually shrunk down. Very powdery, just like all the other milk that we've done. But it does have a little bit different texture than the regular milk. And our weight is 2 pounds, 3 ounces. And last is our buttered cauliflower. I'm really curious to see how the rice does. It's a lot fluffier than it normally would be before you cook it. So ideally you could just put this back into hot water and it would be like cooked rice already. And the weight is 2 pounds, 1 ounce. So I'm going to do the cashew milk first because it's a no-brainer. You just add water and it's ready to go. So we're going to give that a test. We'll give it a taste test and see how it worked. I'm going to make a little homemade funnel, make this a little bit easier. Cashew milk is a lot thicker, it seems like, than when I did the whole milk and 2% milk. It almost feels like it's not dry, but it's just because it's more thick. It doesn't get quite as flaky. So I've heard of people running this through a blender or a food processor before they actually try and reconstitute it, so I'm going to give that a shot. That actually worked really well. It's more like powdered milk now, and it will definitely help it reconstitute evenly. I went ahead and added some water to the bottom just so everything doesn't stick to the bottom. And then I'm just going to pour this back in. So that looks good to me. I'm going to give it a good shake. It's great. It's just the way you want it. Alright, so I'm going to do the tofu and the seitan next. I'm going to fill up some ball jars as full as I can get them for storage, and then I'll reconstitute the rest and save the rest for dinners the rest of the week. And like I said, I like the seitan a lot better than the tofu now that I've made it because it just comes in more useful. It tastes better, and the texture is a lot more meat-like if you're making a stir fry or something like that. So if you're used to using tofu, I would probably recommend trying to at least try and make the seitan at least once, just to see if it works for you as well as we like it. So the seitan is really, really, really dense now that it's freeze dried. It's incredibly hard, so if you try and eat it now, it's like really, really dry. It's one of those things that you eat and you just want to drink a glass of water with it. On the plus side of that, I would say it would store incredibly well, and I think long-term storage it would do really, really well. So I've had quite a few people recommend a steamer to reconstitute some things, and I think this is a good case of where we need a steamer. So I've had a steamer for a while. I haven't really tried to rehydrate anything other than cheese that one time. But I think this is, since these are so dense and they're porous and you kind of need to keep them in their shape that they are, I think that a steamer will apply very well to this. Doing the tofu on the bottom, seitan in the top. I'm gonna give it about 20 minutes. Normally you do vegetables about 10 to 14 minutes, but I think since there's absolutely no moisture in there, it's probably gonna take a little bit longer. So we'll let these chill here for a little bit and then we'll check back in on them. So for the butter cauliflower, I wanna do the entire tray and I wanna put our weight method to test. So we know the weight before and we know the weight after now, so I'm gonna weigh some water that would make up the difference and add that much water to the pan and see if it turns out to the same consistency as it did before. Alright, so in order to figure out how much water we need to add back in, we need to figure out, so the before weight sitting on the tray was 3 pounds, 12 ounces. If you subtract the tray weight out of 1 pound, 10 ounces, that gives you 2 pounds, 2 ounces. The after the cycle weight sitting on the tray was 2 pounds, 1 ounce. And when you subtract the tray weight from that of 1 pound, 10 ounces, you get 7 ounces. Which is pretty amazing if you think about it, because if you were using this for backpacking or camping or something like that where you really didn't want to have a lot of weight, 7 ounces is practically nothing. All you would have to do is find a water source to rehydrate it. Okay, so you need the difference between 2 pounds, 2 ounces and 7 ounces, which is 1 pound, 11 ounces. So I think the most simple way to do this is just with a kitchen scale. So we want to go to pounds and ounces, and I'm just going to keep adding water until I hit 1 pound, 11 ounces. Alright, so there's 1 pound, which looks like it's about 2 cups of water. Now we'll go for our 11 ounces. Turn the cooktop on to medium heat, and then we're going to go check on the steamer. Alright, so our bell just went off, and these are still pretty tough, and same on the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and stick these in for a little bit longer. Alright, this has been on for about 12 or 13 minutes. It thickened up really, really nice. I thought it was going to be kind of watery there for a little bit, but it turned out great. The cauliflower, you're definitely not going to get the crunch that you got before in the cauliflower. All in all, it turned out really good. So the tofu and the seitan have been in for about 35 minutes, and the tofu looks like it's finally starting to take some water in. The seitan does not. You might have to boil the seitan again since it was boiled originally. The texture of it is really dense, and I think that it's going to take quite a bit to get water inside of it. Well, the seitan is still pretty mushy. It's been in for 40 minutes now. The tofu is still just about the same way. I think if you maybe threw it into a stir fry with some oil and some water, it would probably help it quite a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and throw them in for another 20 minutes or so, just for the heck of it. Alright, well we've been in for 60 minutes now, and the seitan is just still pretty hard. There's no doubt in my mind, it just needs to be boiled again to bring it back. The tofu is about 50-50 still. Some of it's real soft and mushy. Some of it's still really sponge-like. Well, everything turned out really good. I think I've got another camping meal for sure. This one turned out great. Add some Frank's wing sauce to it. It's awesome. If you're looking for the recipes for anything that was in this video, I will put them down in the description as well. Remember to give me a thumbs up. It really helps the YouTube algorithm get this video out to the people who actually want to watch it. If you have any tips or suggestions or just want to say hello, make sure you shoot me a comment in the comments section. Take a moment to subscribe if you haven't already. We do some frugal living, some gardening, some grilling, some cooking, some self-sustained living, and you get to join me and my family on our retirement at the age of 40. After you've clicked subscribe, click the bell notification also, and it will notify you every time a new video comes out, and it'll keep you in the loop of the community. Also take a minute to check out these videos above. In the meantime, this is Retired at 40. Remember to live life simple. We'll catch you next week.